All right, so we have a U.S. Navy sailor detained by Maduro's security services in Venezuela. Now, we actually just covered yesterday, or I think it was yesterday or the day before, that essentially Maduro's private plane was just grabbed up by the U.S. They actually said that they grabbed Maduro's private plane and ended up taking it back to, I believe, Florida. But again, earlier this week, the Pentagon had a foreign crisis on its hand after a group of Marines and Navy personnel were assaulted by a Turkish mob while on Port Liberty from the USS Wasp warship, which was, of course, docked at Izmir in Turkey. 10 Turks from Nationalist Political Party are reportedly in custody, but now another foreign crisis has emerged involving U.S. personnel, this time in Venezuela. A U.S. Navy sailor has been detained by Venezuelan security services after traveling there on personal business. 2 U.S. defense officials have confirmed the unidentified sailor's detention at the Venezuelan law enforcement. It says, and the individual has been in custody since on or about August 30th, the Pentagon has revealed. Now, this is somebody who was on personal business. This was not somebody in full-on, military garb. This was not somebody in fatigues. This was somebody who is military. And again, there's not so much information about, who is this guy? And was this some sort of, special ops guy that was there? And, is this some sort of Navy SEAL guy that's there to knock out the power or something? Or is he there as a spy? Or is he there part of, some sort of bigger operation? We don't know why all of this has happened. Again, a lot of crazy cover-ups going on right now as we speak. But is this one a little bit fishy? Some people definitely think so. Again, there's a lot of crazy opinions out there, especially with the timing of all of the Venezuelan news that is coming out. Of course, we have, again, more to cover tonight about the flip-flopping on what is actually happening in Aurora. We told you last night, all of a sudden, quite a few journalists actually are now saying, oh, never mind, Aurora isn't actually taken over, and the police chief has now, basically said his story is that, oh, no, from our investigation, nothing is going on. Again, that is not exactly what the residents are saying, and they provided no proof that it wasn't going on. So we'll talk about that here in a second. Before we go any further, make sure to go check out Jace. If you do want to get yourself some backup antibiotics, it's one of the things that will immediately, of course, go right away if we have an SHTF. If we have that, again, 97% of the APIs that make the antibiotics are made in China. 93% of all antibiotics are made in China. If we go to war with them, or if we have supply chain issues, then that is one of the first things that will dry up. We are not making them here. We're not manufacturing, or at least not enough to actually supply the entire country. So if you want to get yourself some backups, again, that will save you from having a tiny, cut on your finger turning into a funeral. You'll have a board-certified doctor in a telehealth appointment you can do from your couch, and you can, of course, get something like the Jace case, which has all the common antibiotics, or you can go get Jace Daily, which you can actually get up to a year of your regular medications supply from, of course, from Jace as the Jace Daily goes. So go check it out, marfooglenews.com/Jace, and make sure to use the code MARF. Thank you guys for doing so. Not only do you get a discount, but you help support independent news just like this. Dex, let's bring in Dex, my co-host / internet brother. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So, first of all, we just covered, how all of these different media companies are basically saying that it's all, not what it looks like. Essentially, without any proof, a lot of media companies have essentially gone to the neighborhood, looked at one of the apartments, took a picture of 2 police officers knocking on 2 different doors, and showed that picture all over and says, well, no, it's not taken over. From our initial investigation, and we've asked around, everybody says, nope, we're not being taken over. Well, as far as the landlord's testimony, the landlords have actually come forth and said, hey, my apartment complex is no longer under my control. Nobody's really paying attention to that, I guess, and all of the residents now in the hundreds that have come forward and basically said that this is going on. Why would there be motivation to, I don't know, say that it's not happening? Well, you guys can fill in the blanks there, but as far as the argument, there's a lot of back and forth. As far as the media and the journalists that have said that they've gone there, if they're going to an area with a set up shop, as far as Venezuelan gangs, especially the TDA, they're very, very organized. They have lookouts. They have people that are going to be whistling the second that somebody's 5, 6, 7 blocks away. And then they're going to actually hide pretty much anything that is incriminating, especially if they're in foreign soil like this. At home, they would, of course, be miles out. They would spot a policia. They would let somebody down the road know. And, of course, everything would be cleaned up by the time the policia or the federales got there. Here, on the other hand, again, gangs, it's a lot crazier right now because of what is swirling around about the TDA. I've also gone over yesterday, we went over the option that this could be some sort of, op that basically makes us all cover it. And then they go, haha, it's fake. And then we all look more stupid than before. But again, I don't know if that's actually true. Dex, do you want to talk about how, of course, now they're going back and forth. Now somehow everything is, of course, politicized, but now they're straight up saying, this is going both ways for both people.
They're even saying there's conflicting information coming from officials. But look, here's something that just came in Leaftree in chat said that something went down in Dallas, and I just looked it up, and sure enough, the Dallas police have now confirmed, and this is the headline on Daily Mail: Dallas police have confirmed that the TDA is in the Texas city unleashing chaos. Now, not necessarily taking over an apartment complex, but it's related to some crime activity that has recently happened. And I think there was a viral video there too about somebody getting beaten, and they were suggesting it was from that gang. So this is something that seems to be playing out in city after city. And of course, it's kind of like when somebody gets attacked by a shark. You hear about every shark story. And I think what we're going to hear is all of these stories, because they're going to come up because everybody's looking for it now, even though that doesn't mean it's not being created now too at the same time. So I'm not trying to dismiss it by comparing it to the shark story, but that's just what'll happen. And I think we're also going to likely see, especially in these larger cities that make it easy for criminals to just get away with crime because they just, catch and release, if you want to call it that, and don't bother sending anybody over to ICE or referring them up. Those cities are just going to make it a hotbed. And I guess we have to be careful on whether or not this is a honeypot. But yeah, there's a handful of people talking about this. Like I said, Daily Mail just posted an article on it with Dallas. And so this is getting interesting.
And of course, in this, they say that it's only people on the right side of things here that are posting. It says that social media influencers and citizen journalists seized on video shared by Denver Fox 31 television station showing armed men at an Aurora apartment complex, often adding their own captions and commentary. Basically stating throwing in their speculation as it made rounds on TikTok, X, and Facebook. Even former President Donald, of course, weighed in during a podcast interview repeating unverified claims that gangs were taking over big buildings. Now, I believe that it is absolutely unverified to repeat that there is nothing there, because there is no verification. In the same right, you could call every single person that's saying, no, there's nobody taking over anything. That would be called the same exact thing, because what verification have they showed us? They said, well, we went to that same place later that night and we didn't see the same thing. Well, this is a gang that, of course, was inside, according to the woman who was actually living there, within the hour and a half. It took an hour and a half for the police to arrive. That is something that was confirmed, an hour and a half response time, which is crazy. To really think about it, most people think that's an insane amount of response time. But I know when I lived in the South End or South Park, if you called for anything, I had my car broken into several times. I had my car stolen. I witnessed somebody basically, trying to shank somebody. We had a house robbery basically happening with one of these, somebody who was really, really messed up. was doing it right in front of my roommates and all of us. And they didn't come for like, I don't know. It was a long, long time. It was at least 45 minutes in most of these cases, and it's because we were in the ghetto. And when you're in the ghetto, there's different response times. If you're in a suburb or in an HOA neighborhood, they're on the, Johnny on the spot. They're, right on the dime, 3 to 5 minutes. But that's not how it is in most parts of the city. And I'm sure that they put stats of every city, but I don't think that those stats are accurate. Again, with this whole thing, they're going back and forth saying it's not true, it is true. What is really about to happen? If this is true, and if Chicago and all of these other cities are going to start seeing this, what are we actually going to see? Not to mention, people are seeing people from this country. We know for a fact that there's in pretty much every state that is very similar to not only, of course, Aurora, but of course, Chicago. We're seeing in almost every city and state that is really sanctuary that you're seeing that a ton of people are coming in. I mean, it's very noticeable. I think it's actually more noticeable in the last 2 weeks than I have ever seen it in the last 4 years. I mean, I've definitely noticed it, but not like this. There's shops getting set up. There's, mobile trucks selling stuff. There's these carts that are getting pushed around now. It actually reminds me of the Hispanic, culture that I had when I lived in an area called South Park, and it was mostly Hispanic people. And they had these things, they did their rounds on carts, sold custom foods and things like this. Only these shops that are being set up are from Venezuela, or Venezuelan gifts and Venezuela handmade things. And it's like, just seeing that says that something is changing right now. So with this, it's like, these are huge claims. Why can't they put it to rest? Why can't they absolutely verify it? Why can't they go in there with Fox 31 and have the police go, you know what, we verified here. We're going to go do a live video of these three complexes. We're going to knock on every door. We're going to have everybody come out and say, hey, who are you paying rent to? What's going on? I'm sure that it wouldn't be that hard to at least get 5 or 6 people from 3 complexes that could verify that they're not being taken over. And then the JB DOJ to accuse Russia of trying to influence the 2024, of course, Pick the Prez Day. Now, this is no surprise to many of us that have been following the last, 8 years of all of these things. But of course, with this, it almost sounds like there's some freaky stuff coming out. The JB administration is expected to accuse Russia of orchestrating a sustained effort to influence the 2024 U.S. presidential by targeting American voters through state-run media and other online platforms. Now, who do you think is included in other online platforms? This is a scary thing when it starts going this direction, because then they start saying, oh, well, influencers, this, and people like this, now they're the enemy, and anything they share, even if it's just something that's not exactly negative about a country, then all of a sudden they're a supporter, and now they need to go. I mean, that's kind of the scariness I see in the near future. Dex, as far as they confirm that there's Russian-linked entities that will be targeting, that was targeted by the Justice Department. And then, of course, they said that they were expected, the RT network was involved in this. Do you want to go over that?
Yeah, absolutely. So they got 2 people apparently from the RT organization, as well as it looks like there's other companies involved. And now there's something with Tenant Media that actually works with a lot of social media influencers. So you got it on 2 sides. You got the RT side, those guys that were, and it's not RT, it's I don't know if they're employees or they were just backed or part of RT, but the information's a little shaky at the moment. But what they're going after those people for creating news and trying to make news that looked like it was sourced from major outlets, but had a spin on it that was pro-Russia. At least that's what the DOJ is claiming and alleging, I should say. And then you also have this other thing that's come up with Tenant Media. And Tenant Media apparently has been accused, or allegedly accused, of receiving $10 million from the Russian government. Well, if you look at some of the people that work with Tenant Media, they've got some decently big names in social media, like Benny Johnson and Tim Pool and Dave Rubin and others. So that are on their roster. Now, of course, that's going to cause some backlash, and that really what it does is it creates easy fodder. We don't know. All these are just allegations. We don't know if there's any truth to any of this. We don't even know, even if there is truth to it, if there's any connection to the people at the end, like Tim or Ruben or any of these guys, if they even have anything to do with it. But you're going to see them use it. When I say them, this becomes cannon fodder for the media to just roll all over independent, reporters or independent media pundits or whatever you want to call these different people. It's going to give them, carte blanche to just tie all this together and make all sorts of stories from it.
And I was trying to pull this up here. I think I got it. Is it my statement regarding allegations of the DOJ indictment? Should these allegations prove true, I, as well as other personalities and commentators, were deceived and are victims. I cannot speak for anyone else at the company as to what they do or to what they are instructed. It says that the Culture War podcast was licensed by Tenet Media, existed well before any license agreement and Tenet, and it will continue to exist after any such agreement expires. The only change with the agreement was the location of the live broadcast moved to Tenet's YouTube channel. I and TCW never produced any content for Tenet Media. Never at any point did anyone other than I have full editorial control of the show, and the contents of the show are often apolitical. Examples include discussing spirituality, dating, and video games. I'm sorry, I actually don't think I've ever seen a Tim Pool episode with any of those, but I guess maybe I don't watch a lot. But the show is produced in its entirety by our local team without input from anyone external to the company. TCW is a separate company not associated with timcast.com or other properties. So this looks like a lot of legal jargon to try to not only put out a public statement to try to save face for himself with all this coming down. It looks bad for him. I see people that are like, I knew it. And to be honest, I think some people, when they don't like somebody, they're immediately, I personally don't, I'm not a big fan of Tim. Especially because I saw a lot of his stuff back when he was with one of the magazines, Vice. And it's like, I saw this kind of change over the years and what he's done. But on the same note, I respect what he does. And I've seen people that have disliked other folks as far as people that are really, really big right now getting taken down. And I almost feel like because they already have this bias about this person, they hear something negative about them and they're going to then just jump right on the bandwagon and say, yep, this is what it is. But this has some very serious meaning behind it. Because if this becomes true, and if they're trying to say that all of these people are kind of like Russian agents, or they're all getting paid off by the Russians, this could be then targeted as something where they can go after online platforms and online, creators after something like this and say, well, hey, you can't talk about this and this and that because you possibly could be, a Russian influencer or somebody who's getting paid to influence or interfere, right? So I think that people should be innocent until proven guilty. As far as the Tenet thing, yeah, what was the actual connections there? Are all of those names mentioned now all of a sudden Russian agents? I don't know if that's true. But again, I guess we'll see over time. But I have a feeling that if this was something that was planned, this isn't something they do without, planning. Something goes into it. They'll make sure that there's something there, or at least they'll drag somebody through the mud until they scream uncle. So I guess we'll see. Again, what do you guys think? What do you guys think of Tim Pool? Let me know. What do you think of Benny and all of the other names on there? Do you think that they knew about this whole connection? Let me know. There's a lot of really weird things going on. And in other news, we actually have Germany activating its air defenses. We've got NATO members right now essentially looking like they're preparing for it all to pop off. So make sure to join us on our next show, again, over on Marfoogle TV, our sister channel. If you're not over there, again, you should be. Make sure to pop over. Again, you can do so just by clicking here. Join us on the other show. If you're in chat, just stay there. If you are on the replay, click up above. And, of course, we'll see you on the next one of Marfoogle News. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out.